Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Baumstead, and I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon on a sunny afternoon after a couple days of rain for another edition of our Connecting for Wellbeing with Wello series, where we talk about all things community, connection, and well-being. So today we have a very timely topic about how to stay safe as you're walking, biking, or rolling throughout your community. So to help us navigate through this topic today, I'm thrilled to introduce to you two really great community members, Peter and Tracy Fluky of We Bike ETC. So Peter and Tracy Fluky are authors of the book Coast to Coast on a Tandem, and they're also owners of We Bike ETC, which is a national bicycle and pedestrian safety consulting business, and it's based actually right here in Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin. We Bike specializes in the areas of engineering, education, enforcement, and encouragement to ensure that walking and biking is safe and to ensure healthy communities. So Peter and Tracy, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Natalie.
So as we kind of get started, so part of well-being is really about asking each other how we're doing. So to start off, how are each of you doing today?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange and timely question right now, but I think overall we're doing really well. We're real lucky. We work at home. We're fairly self-contained anyhow. Tracy and I, our health is good. We've been getting, out a little bit. Our immediate family is healthy, but yet we're still feeling the weight, right, of COVID-19. I can always feel it, on my shoulders. It's sort of that constant companion. But knowing how lucky we are, we're actually kind of refocusing our energy on maybe what we can do with our extra capacity to help other folks. And that's why it's kind of fun to do this today.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've really been doing a lot of was trying to stay active. It helps us mentally and physically. So we run, bike, walk, rollerblade, whatever, almost every day, get out and do something. The other part of that we've been trying to help other people is we've been posting on that. So we've been putting on Facebook, on our social media, and just telling people what we're doing and encouraging them to get out and do their own adventure, or if they want to take our adventure and go do our adventure as well. The other thing that we've done to maybe help people out is we've offered our book for free on Kindle version, and we had almost 100 people download it. So we're hoping that they're enjoying that trip that we had across the country many years ago.
Absolutely. Those are all really great things and good perspective to keep as well. Understanding that, this situation is impacting us all in very different ways. But that active community piece, right, and staying active, that's what we're really here to talk about today and how that can really help all of us. So with summer on the way, so we are fortunate that summer is on the way. We're not going into winter, we're going into summer, which I think is something really to be grateful for today. And our current safer at home order, many people are finding themselves, moving throughout the community either more than they have before, or for some, it may be for the first time. So if you would, could you please just kind of begin sharing with us some specific things that we should be aware of or know to make sure that we are safely doing this movement throughout our neighborhoods and throughout our communities?
Yeah, the stuff that we'll talk about, it's always been important, but as we're, standing in our kitchen and looking out the window, we are seeing so many more people now walking and biking. And that's been really encouraging because it's been a huge part of our lives. And I think it's really beneficial for everybody anytime. But one of the things that we've been noticing, which has been a little problematic, is that a lot of these folks are really getting out there for the first time. You can tell they're not comfortable. They don't know exactly where to be on the road, how to interact with other road users. And so for that reason, we thought if you'd like, we can share some of those kind of tricks and tips that we know about how you can move more safely through the community.
That'd be perfect.
Great. So we're going to start out with one of our favorite modes of transportation, bicycling, and the bicyclists being out there. There's 3 really key tips that I can give you to make it easier and safer for you to be out there. The first one is always ride in the same direction as the cars are traveling on the road. That's one of the key ones, always in the same direction as other traffic. The second one is stop, then yield the right of way at any traffic control device. So stop sign, stoplight, stop. When it's clear, go ahead and move through the intersection. The other thing that's important is to wear bright colored clothes when you're out riding, and a helmet. I can attest to the fact that a helmet is really important, because when I got hit by the car, if I wouldn't have had a helmet on, it would have been a much worse accident than I did have, or crash than I had. The other thing I would recommend is bicyclists use lights on when they're at night, just to make themselves more visible. There's also lights that you can use during the day that just track people's eyes as well. So, but the key thing I think a bicyclist needs to remember is, if you don't do it in your car, don't do it on your bike. Bicyclists are considered to have the same rights and responsibilities as a motor vehicle driver. So keep that in mind when you're out there on your bike.
So let me talk a little bit about walking, right? It's our most basic form of transportation. Anybody, if you're ambulatory, you can get outside and you can walk. One of the things we'd like to suggest, though, that if there's a sidewalk, if there's a trail, use it. It's the safest place for you to be walking. You're separated from the motor vehicle traffic. Definitely your best choice. But in a lot of our neighborhoods, we don't have sidewalks and trails, which means that you're going to be out walking on the road, which is just fine. But you always, always want to walk facing traffic. It's much, much safer, almost 3 times safer to walk facing traffic. So you can step out of the way, you can see what the motorists are doing. And it's also the law. So another really important thing to remember. As you're walking, you're inevitably going to come to an intersection, or you're going to want to cross the road. Always try to cross the road at intersections. That's where motorists are looking for you. And if you can, use a marked crosswalk. The marked crosswalk indicates to everybody that that's a shared responsibility. The pedestrians have the right of way. And then when you're using the crosswalk, make sure you do it correctly. It sounds so funny, but you need to be conscious. You need to pay attention. What we recommend, stop at the edge of the road, look both directions for traffic, put your foot into the crosswalk and extend your arm in the direction you're traveling. That says to the motorist, hey, I really do want to cross the street. Please yield to me. When they do stop, then go ahead and cross. But as you're crossing, make sure that you're continually looking from side to side, because situations can change as you're moving across the street.
And finally, one thing Peter didn't mention was, for walkers or pedestrians as well, wear bright colors when you're out there. Make yourself as visible as you can. And if you're going to walk at night, make sure you bring a flashlight or something with you, because it'll make you that much more visible at night as well. And finally, the last user of the road that we see out there is the motor vehicle driver. We all are drivers. We're out in our car at different times and moving through the community. The thing that we need to remember right now, especially, is there's a lot more bicyclists out there, and there's a lot more walkers out there and runners out there. So be extra careful and really keep your eyes open when you're out there traveling in the community right now. But the key things for a motorist to remember when they're out there is, I guess the biggest one, or the easiest one, is obey the speed limit. Keep your speeds down. If you hit a pedestrian or bicyclist at a slower speed, the chances are that they would die in that crash are much less than someone being hit at a much higher speed. So keep your speeds down, or where they should be. The second thing is always yield. Peter mentioned this, yield to the pedestrians in the crosswalk. They do have the right of way in that area, and you're required to stop. Make sure you stop back far enough from the crosswalk. Don't get up tight. One reason is it kind of scares the pedestrian when you're too tight. And it keeps that intersection much more visible if you stay back a little bit, so other people can see what's going on. And finally, share the road with the bicyclist. The law requires that we provide at least 3 feet when we're passing a bicyclist. That's a minimum. I love it when you give me more than that, but that's the minimum that's required by law. So those are the things a motorist really needs to keep track of or be aware of when they're out driving in the community.
And then there was one last thing that we talked about. It's that, why would somebody do all these things that we recommend, right? It's like, yak, 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 somebody else just telling you one more thing to do. Well, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should do these things. First of all, it's self-preservation. It's safer, okay? It's safer, and it's more courteous on top of that. Nobody wants to be that guy, right? You don't want to be that motorist that people are yelling at, or the bicyclist that wasn't doing what they were supposed to, or the pedestrian that scared somebody. It's just polite to follow these tips. And then the last one is that most of them, they're actually the law. You're required by law to walk facing traffic. You're required by law to bicycle with traffic. There's really good reasons behind those things. So remember, it's safer, it's courteous, and it's the law.
Yeah, absolutely. All really great tips. And the 3-foot rule in a time of social distancing, we're supposed to stay 6 feet anyway, right? So we can.
We're good with the 6 feet. That's fine.
Yeah. So why don't we just double that for now, right?
Yeah, and let's just keep it that way.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've particularly noticed was as I'm walking more throughout my neighborhood, so we tend to do dog walks throughout our neighborhood each day. Otherwise, our dog Charlie gets a little restless, right? As do we, and it's a good way of getting that 30 minutes of exercise, that movement a day. Just really noticing maybe some of the buildings more, noticing the infrastructure, so how the road is a little bit more. For example, we have a woman who, an elderly woman who walks actually with a walker each day throughout our neighborhood. And it kind of brings to light, when I saw her walking, first of all, I thought, well, goodness, I need to be out there walking, right?
Exactly.
If she can do it at 9. But then also thinking about some of the users of the road that may have some mobility impairments and how our environment is really structured, right? So, oh goodness, I see there's that huge pothole. How is she getting around that, right? Or if there's some pieces. So as we're noticing some of these things in our community, what do you do if you were to notice something like this? Could you kind of walk us through that process?
Sure. It's great that there's more people out there walking and biking, because more people are going to notice those kind of things because they're using it, and they're going to say, these are a problem for me, or it could be a problem for somebody else. So what do I do? What we recommend is when you're out there, you see a pothole, you mentioned that already, or maybe an uneven sidewalk. Take a picture if you can. Most people carry their phone, take a picture of it. Note the address of the home that it's in front of, or the business, or the intersection that it's located near. When you get home, just get on your computer and figure out, what community it would be in. Contact that community. You can either call them, ask for maybe the Public Works Department, and give them a record of what's going on out there or what you would like to be taken care of. Also, many communities have right on their Facebook or their websites a report system. And you can just put it right in the report system. It goes to whoever takes care of that type of thing, and hopefully it will be taken care of. So that would be our suggestion. Reach out to the community where you have seen the pothole, uneven sidewalk, or any kind of dangerous area that you see, and hopefully they'll take care of it. And then check back and make sure that it is taken care of.
Just a quick suggestion too, if you don't know whether you should report something to the municipality, think about how many times you've walked past that thing and been angry about it. If it's more than once, you definitely need to report it, because other people are thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think about, so I live here in Green Bay, and we have a neighborhood association as well that we are a part of. And so knowing that, maybe looking into, if you're in the Green Bay neighborhood or some of our surrounding municipalities, if there are specific neighborhood groups where you could also bring some of those issues to bear at, so that you can bring it, to the attention of those who can take some action on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have a neighborhood association, reach out to the person that's in charge of that association. Maybe they have a key contact with someone from the city already, and they could get it right to who it needs to get to.
So we do have a question here from someone who's attending. Why do some neighborhoods have sidewalks and some do not?
That's a really deep question. Historically, back in the day before the roads were paved, that we started putting in sidewalks because it was really hard for people to walk. Women in their dresses, men with their boots, we'd start making boardwalks. And so historically, cities, old towns were developed with sidewalks for exactly that purpose. It wasn't until probably the 50s or the 60s and kind of the urban sprawl that we started to build areas where people were solely dependent on their motor vehicles, and then they felt like they didn't need to have sidewalks. But what we found is that even places that didn't think they needed them back in the day, they're having to go back and put them in now. So it really was a planning issue. It was really a developmental issue. For those of you that live in Green Bay, the old, tighter downtown area, there are sidewalks everywhere. And as you get farther and farther and farther out from the central city, you can actually see where the sidewalk system starts to break down and then where it's completely gone, except for the fact now we're going back and retrofitting those.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, really good question. And you're right. It is multi-layered on why or why not. Some of the work around, how do we continue to build healthy communities? Some of that does focus on, if there is a new development coming into the area, how do we ensure that we have some of these walk and bikeable amenities that are part of that, and that they also provide some nice connection throughout the community. So people who want to go from downtown, whatever downtown area that is, to home can do that safely and can do that efficiently. I think about, going to get groceries, right, at your local grocery store,
Right.
Which really brings to bear the benefits that walking and biking can really have within a community, both within your physical health and your physical well-being, your mental well-being of being outside and being active, but it also provides economic benefit to our community, because we know when there's more walk and bike traffic around our local businesses, that people spend more there, right? So it's kind of a win-win-win, so to speak.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've been thinking about with the pandemic, our world has, gotten turned completely upside down. But we've always said that the ability to walk and bike creates more resilient communities. And we have just literally in the last month proved that concept, right? We're seeing the pressure on our state parks. We're seeing the number of people walking and biking. And if all of a sudden you need to go out and walk, but we haven't provided a sidewalk or a facility for you, that's a major problem. But we've already seen that historically when people have medical issues and they're prescribed more exercise and they go outside and they can't find a safe place to walk. So, all of these things have always been there, but they're getting compressed in their immediacy right now.
Yeah,
absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up here today, how have you been taking care of your health and well-being? So I know that you've talked a little bit about how you've been taking some biking trips and posting them. I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit, or if there's other things that you want to talk about on kind of maybe a tip to share with others on the call.
We've been active has been one of the really good things for us, and we're always thankful that the governor has not restricted access for people to get outside and move around, and we really encourage people to do that because it just makes you feel good and gets you out of the house a little bit. So that's been one of the key things. One of the other things that's really been interesting for me is my neighborhood, and the people have so inspired me by their behaviors and how they're acting towards each other. And they're still physically distancing, but they're socially connected. And it's huge to see the things that they're doing for each other, helping each other out. And we have a neighbor that fixed another neighbor's mailbox the other day. I have my little library that I keep up to date and clean, and books in there so people can engage and get the books that they need to read. Just everybody helping each other out, checking in, making sure everyone's okay. And it really has helped my well-being and make me feel good about where I live and how people are doing and how much people are caring for each other in the neighborhood.
Very good. Peter, would you add anything to that?
No, the reason I'm grinning is because when we tried doing this before, Tracy started crying. It's literally an emotional thing. And the thing that Tracy didn't share is that she's not only doing our grocery shopping, but she's shopping for an elderly couple in our neighborhood as well. And so we social distancing, physical distancing, but socially connected. And like we said, we've been going out and riding a lot, and we've done trips across the country, and we've had, hundreds or thousands of followers on those. But what we discovered? We're getting the same amount of following by riding out to Oneida and going to the Buffalo Overlook, or going down to a good vista in Wrightstown. And we're getting contacts from people all the time that said, where is that again? I've lived in Green Bay all my life and I've never been there. And it's partially because we usually travel at a high rate of speed, insulated by our cars. And now we're getting out and we're walking more. And so we're getting literally more connected to our community by those activities, but yet while experiencing or practicing social distancing.
Mhm. Absolutely. And that is very inspiring, and it's really great to hear the community coming together in that way. And I think that, for me, has been one of the silver linings of this all is it's very inspiring to see neighbors helping neighbors. And to your point, we're all usually kind of going at this warp speed, and I know many people still are in warp speed mode. We have a lot of those essential workers that are still really at the front lines, and a lot of families that are really experiencing some great difficulties at this time. But for those of us who are able to be supportive in some of those other ways, I think it has been inspiring to see people helping people.
It is, it's huge.
Yeah. No matter what your level of stress or how busy you are, a walk around the block can do miraculous things. And if you've got more time than that, just keep walking. It keeps feeling better.
Yep, exactly. And I keep telling myself, remember how great you feel when you're walking this much, right? And whenever, I hesitate to say that we're going to go back to normal, because I think it will be a different normal. But when we come out the other side, to remember some of these things that have really kind of brought us that feeling of well-being and that joy, so we can continue to do some of those things that are just really good things to do for ourselves and each other.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, Peter and Tracy. We so appreciate your insight. You are local experts in our area here, so we really appreciate you coming on today and sharing that. You can learn more from Peter and Tracy on their website. So their website is www.webike.org. .org. I was going to say ORG, but then it just came out as...
You almost made it.
I almost made it. So it's webike.org. And they have a blog that they are doing right now entitled What You Still Need to Know. And so here's where they're going to provide even additional tips and tricks and different things that are related to healthy community design. We will put that link in the Facebook post for this and all of our social media posts, so you will have that at your fingertips. So I think, one of the things that we talked about here at Wello early on was getting 30 minutes of movement in a day. And so hopefully this is kind of your another reminder to get in those 30 minutes a day, whether that is walking or biking or rolling, or maybe you're going up and down your stairs or your front porch, but how important that is to our overall well-being in our community. So thank you very much for joining us here today, everyone. If you have suggestions on who you would like to see or a topic that you would like to see discussed, please drop us a note at hello@wello.org. Got through that one. And you can also visit our website at wello.org. All of our resources will be posted on our COVID-19 response page. So everyone, we wish you a wonderful upcoming weekend and hope that you all stay well. Peter and Tracy, thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.